So, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the webinar on citizen science, Be a Modern Naturalist. Yeah. Um, we have participants from all over the Philippines, from Paris in the north, all the way to the City of Flowers in Zamboanga. Such great representation, guys. We have, practically. I did not count all the schools, but I think we have more than 20 to 30 schools that registered to attend. Although not a lot of people are on here, they could probably be on the YouTube live stream. No? So we have students from elementary to graduate school, um, teachers, hobbyists, mountaineers, no? NGO workers, local government units, people's organizations, professional groups or associations, and environmental conservation groups, no? So actually, the ages range from 7 to never mind, no? So quite a big group. So I hope that all of them can make it because konti pa lang on the Zoom meeting at the moment. But I hope they'll be able to make it. Let me introduce myself first. Let me see. So I'm Dr. Carmela Española, an assistant professor at the Institute of Biology, UP Diliman, and I will be your host for tonight. Um, Here are some general guidelines that we need to follow during the duration of this webinar. So this webinar is being recorded. I hope you're all okay with that. And I'd like you guys to, if possible, to, keep your microphones and cameras off unless you're called to speak. And the last one, I will waive because we already have a lot of people who are monitoring the chat boxes. So it's all right if you chat and you say hello to each other, So you can post there your questions, clarifications, or anything at all that you'd like to comment on, about the content of the webinar. So let us, I'm not sure if he's here. Is Dr. Fontanilla around? I'm not sure if he's here. He said that he will attend. Anyway, he didn't tell me if he's coming. So he may not be around. I just would like to acknowledge him, sana. So anyway, people go into the wilderness with a myriad of experiences, no? Some find it exhilarating because of all the things they see, hear, taste, etc. But others don't have the same experience at all. They're what you would call bird blind, insect blind, and plant blind. So bulag sa nakikita nila, no? Mammals and herps are mainly nocturnal or are active at night, so it's forgivable if people don't know them or are not familiar with them. But how about diurnal creatures or those that are active by day? So today, you'll learn how to document what you observe when you go out into the forest, grassland, river or stream, lake, backyard pond or canal, or practically anywhere in nature. No? So careful documentation by citizen scientists help monitor changes in habitat and land use. It gives scientists an idea of how landscapes have changed over the years and allows them to craft ways to mitigate or prevent further habitat degradation and destruction. These field observations, when documented well, can direct conservation and habitat restoration efforts, as well as identify research gaps. So, with this webinar, we hope that you will develop a naturalist instinct, no, to help make your experience of nature richer and help science as well through your documentation of wildlife communities. So now have your pen and notebook ready and let's go explore nature in our backyards. No? So we are fortunate to have with us two speakers who love nature with a passion. Our first speaker will give you an overview of nature journaling. No? So we have here Miss Jelaine Gan. Um, she is a graduate of the Institute of Biology Liman. No? So she finished her BS Biology and MS Biology there. And she is also a member of the lab that I also belong to, the Terrestrial Research in Ecology and Evolution Laboratory. No? So she's also a member of the Wild Bird Club of the Philippines and the Antipolo Valley Ecological Society. She was also an officer of the Haring Ibon, no? And she is the brainchild, yung brainchild niya ay UP Wild, no? So she's the brains behind that initiative, no? So she studied raptors, no, for her master's studies, no. So later on, if you want to learn more about raptors, you can go and contact her, no. So sige, I'd like you guys to actually prepare your questions because her connection is not very reliable. So prepare your questions and ask them as she speaks, no? Because soon after her talk, she only has a short time to answer, no? So she may not have internet connection after that. So kindly prepare your questions during her talk. Okay, so let's have Miss Jelaine Ganal for her talk.
Hi everyone. Can you guys hear me? Ma'am Lala, can you hear me?
It's a little soft.
Oh, it's a little soft.
We
Kindly
can hear
open
you
up.
okay.
Okay.
Yan. Okay. Okay. Sige. Good evening everyone. Let me just share my screen so that we can start my presentation. Can everyone see my screen?
We can see it.
All right, thank you so much. So, welcome again to everyone of all ages na nandito ngayong gabi. Maraming salamat sa pagbigay sa amin ng oras para makinig dito sa ating webinar ngayong araw. Nakakatuwa actually no makita na there are a lot of people who are interested with citizen science and with nature journaling. And that's gonna be my topic for today. Like what Ma'am Lala said, I am a biologist and I see a lot of wonder, or I have a lot of wonder for nature. I have this childlike awe about the organisms that we have around us. And I hope that through this talk, I can inspire everyone in this room or everyone in this meeting to go out and reconnect with nature because there is such wonder in nature. And I'd like to introduce you to an activity which we call Nature Journaling 101. All right? So, at this age of information, guys, I think this is the time wherein a lot of people are aware about biodiversity, aware about eagles, just like in this video. We know what they eat, like in this case, it eats fish. We know that they have competition or nagko-compete siya with another eagle, like this bald eagle. However, just like this video, it always ends in a stop button. It always ends in an ad because this is something that we just see from the TV, something that we see from YouTube or Netflix, from the documentaries of nature. There are also now in this age, almost a lot of us or everyone knows about different animals. Especially child or kaya adults, alam natin yung mga icon natin like this Philippine eagle. Everyone knows about the Philippine eagle. Everyone can see or can identify that this is a Philippine eagle when they see a picture. But just like with the video kanina, this is also something that we view or that we see mostly in printed materials, in books, in charts, in images, in the internet. It's not something that we actually see with our own eyes. And this tells us, this two example tells us that our relationship with nature has already changed. We now view nature through multiple lenses, through printed materials, through cameras, through videos, through TV screen. And that's not something that is fostering a good connection because we're not actually with nature, but rather we're just viewing it apart. But dapat ang mas magandang idea is dapat nandun tayo sa nature. Doon natin natutunan ang mga information tungkol sa Philippine Eagle, ang mga information about the food or the diet of our native biodiversity. And this is what I'd like to introduce to everyone. I'd like to invite every one of you to go back to the basics. Because right now, when we think of wildlife biologists or when we think of naturalists, we usually think of people that are like this on the right of the image. Meron silang mahabang mga lenses, meron silang mga larga vista or mga binoculars, which they use to view the wildlife or to view nature. But before, during the time of Charles Darwin, the time of Jane Goodall, wala pang mga technology, wala pa yung mga camera na advanced and affordable that everyone can have. And during that time, ang main na instrument nila is to be just observant, to use a paper and pen and write down the observations that they see in the field. So sa kanila, hindi nila pwedeng i-capture yung moment by just clicking in a camera. But instead, they have to pay meticulous attention in order to record it accurately in their notebooks, to sketch what they see, and to share it to other people. And that is something that we are gonna do today. So let me introduce you to the activity which we call nature journaling. So if you guys keep a diary, this is kind of like a diary, but this time, hindi yung buhay natin, hindi yung personal lives natin ang nasa entries natin, but rather, nature takes center stage in our entries. And this combines the art of writing down your observations accurately, as well as sketching or drawing. Kaya for this webinar, my talk or my part will be mainly on this writing part. And then later on, we have a very good artist with us who will teach us about sketching. So napaka-exciting, kaya wag kayong aalis para matuto tayo mag-sketch. So this activity of nature journaling combines creativity because you have to be creative about your notes. I'm not saying na dapat maganda. Iba ang maganda sa creative. Kapag creative, marami ka lang paraan para ibahagi or para isulat ang mga information na nakikita mo. And of course, it also promotes critical thinking. So when you write down your observations, you actually also process the information and it allows you to ask questions about what you see. Bakit ganito yung lupa? Bakit yung dahon pabilog? 'Di ba? Ang raming tanong, bakit kaya ganon? So it also combines critical thinking when you do your nature journals. So again, in your journals or in your nature journals, you combine detailed observations and you put your ideas and concepts into writing so that it is something of significant scientific and historical value. So, ngayong pandemic, no, napansin natin na a lot of people are starting to become plant tito or plant tita. Suddenly, everyone is interested about plants. And I think this is because at this time, we're in a lockdown, we're in a quarantine, we cannot do our work outside our homes. It was the time where we are forced to slow down. Lagi tayong hectic eh. Yung buhay natin ngayon, very fast-paced na work, 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 tapos do this next stuff, do this to-do list, and etc. Laging may next na step na gagawin. So, nature journaling is actually a way for us to slow down, to be in the moment, to be in the present, and start to take notice of the wonder that is around us. And it is also our time, or it is also our way to reconnect with nature. Let's take our lenses off. Let's take our glasses. Let's take our cameras, our binoculars off, and see nature with our own very eyes, di ba? And from the webinar talk rin, sabi natin this is something about citizen science. So when we say citizen science, this is something that is done by everyone. Hindi lang tong mga scientists, yung mga may background on biology, ang pwedeng makatulong sa science, but instead it's actually every one of us, regardless of your background, regardless of your age, you can help in science, and that is the concept of citizen science. Even these children that are shown here in the image, you can help in science by putting down your notes in your nature journal. So, when we say scientist, no, we have this connotation of mainly the one that is on your right. Diba? When we think of scientists, we imagine people who are wearing lab gown, who are wearing eyeglasses or like safety goggles, and then they always look under the microscope. They wear gloves and etc. But those are the laboratory kind of scientists. There are also scientists who are like me, who are like Ma'am Lala. We are always out in the field because that's where we study our organisms. And that's me on your left. And that's where usually get up and we have those instruments with us that will help us do science. So I have a question for everyone. What do you guys or what do you think is the universal tool of science? Based on these two pictures that you see in the slide, ano kaya dyan yung instrument na universal tool of science? Can you guys comment? Tingnan natin kung ano yung universal tool of science kaya. Ayan, may mga nag-comment na. May nagsabi ng eyes, microscope, observations, human, and then senses, and then eyes. Okay. Wow, thank you so much for your answers. And that's actually correct, no? Kailangan natin ng eyes para sa ating observations. But it's not just the eyes because when we're dealing with science, we have to use all our senses. It's not just the eyes, it's also our nose, our taste, our ears. Everything is involved. And that's really nice about nature journaling or nature studies. Okay? But when it comes to recording them, this brain is not that good. It's not like a hard drive na kaya niyang isave lahat ng information na nakikita ng senses natin. And that's why scientists have this tool that is very, very important, and that is your notebook. Ayan. So this is my notebook. And as you can see, yung mga laboratory na scientists, yung mga field scientists, they always have pen and paper with them because that is the way that we can record science. This brain is not that good. It cannot store a lot of gigabytes or it cannot be relied upon to remember everything that we feel, everything that we see and hear. Okay? So your notebook is the universal tool of science, and just like this one, so in my slides I will be showing the different entries that I have in my notebook just to show you na hindi talaga kailangan maganda ang artist na, or hindi ka dapat or hindi kailangan na maganda ang iyong mga drawing. So, in your notebook, that is your place or that is your tool to record kung ano yung nararamdaman or ano yung nafe-feel ng mga senses mo. At this is also your way to organize your thoughts. Hindi ko alam kung na-experience ito, pero kapag sobrang overwhelmed na kayo with the information around you, sometimes what I do is I take a notebook, write down all the things that I have to do, and it allows me to process and organize my thoughts. That's the same process for science. And it also allows you to explain mga patterns. Okay, so I have several notebook already from my fieldwork, and they're very important or they're very sentimental value also for me. The value of writing is that you get to articulate and you get to clarify the ideas that you are bombarded with. Kasi nga kapag nasa labas ka ng nature, maraming nangyayari, umuulan, nababasa yung paa mo, kinakagat ka ng mga langgam, tapos may nakikita kang flower sa harapan mo na pinopollinate ng isang bee. There's so many things that is happening. So the value of writing is that it allows you to focus on the object that you are interested in. And it allows you to process, and later on, these records that you created in your notebook, this will become a historical as well as a scientific tool that can be used for future researches and for record keeping. Diba? So in this case, for my master's thesis, I studied an eagle and I look at their breathing. So in this case, I put down the time and then kung anong ginawa nila. So kunyari ito, magbabasa lang ako. Light, which is my code name. Light move up some branches. I lost sight of light, and etc. So this allows me to record what I see. And this is something that is done by a lot of famous people. Like for example, Dr. Jane Goodall. Di ba, alam natin na siya yung isa sa mga prime pinaka-famous na primatologists of this century. And siya yung nag-aral ng mga chimpanzees sa may Africa. So, siya ay walang background on science. She was just an office clerk. Typist siya doon sa office. But because of her interest with nature, she now is somebody super famous and she was able to create a breakthrough in studying the chimpanzee behavior. And she does this by meticulously recording the behavior of the chimps. And then there's also somebody who is very close to the Philippines, our national hero, Dr. Jose Rizal. He's a writer and he's a doctor. He engaged in wide interests like politics, agriculture, literature. But did you guys know that he was also responsible for discovering a new species of lizard, a new species of frog? This is because he was very observant. He put sketches in his notebooks, and later on, this helped contribute to science. Okay, so punta naman tayo ngayon sa elements of a journal entry. What should be included there? Well, first, you have your metadata, and then you have your pictures, just like this one. You have numbers to go with your data, and you have words or labels to give substance to your images. So let's go through them one by one. So yung metadata, yan ay yung data behind your data. So this is the place where you put your time. Anong oras ka bang pumunta doon? Anong araw ka pumunta doon? Saan ka pumunta? What is the locality? Anong route yung tinake mo? Kasi baka hindi naman pala ito nahanap sa mapa or wala siyang pangalan na pwedeng gamitin para i-record. At napaka-importante, what is the temperature or what is the weather? Was it sunny? Was it rainy? Was it cloudy? And so on. These are some of the observations that you can put down as metadata. And habitat. Bawat isang habitat may kanya-kanyang organisms na nandun sa habitat na yun. So you can record, is it a forest? Is it a garden? Is it a coast? And then you also have your pictures. I'm not going to talk more or I'm not going to talk a lot about it, but note that pictures worth more than 1,000 words. And later on, Sir Arnel, our second speaker, will be talking about it. But Putting down pictures allows you to be meticulous about your observations, and it will also help you with your memory. So here's some of the strategy that you can employ. So you can, when you're trying to study an organism, you can zoom out and then zoom in. So like for example, by zooming out, you see na itong puno na to is just a small tree. It's not a very, very tall tree. And if you zoom in, you can see that it actually has fruits, like this one. And if you go zoom in pa or mag-magnify ka pa, makikita natin na meron siyang seeds. Itong mga black na to, these are seeds that have opened, or yung fruit niya nag-open like a capsule to show the seeds. And then another strategy, when you're drawing habitat, you can draw cross sections. So in this case, this was done by a 10-year-old. So anyone can really do this. You can create like a cross section of the mountain so that you can see kung mountainous ba siya, kung cliff ba siya, may pataas ba siyang ground, may hill, and etc. And you put down notes like moist, dirt, water, so that you remember what those elements are found in your habitat. Next, very important, words. Words allow you to tell a story about what you see. And I'm gonna be sharing three procedures that you can help you in writing your own stories. So first is I noticed. I noticed. Just complete that sentence, and that's already making an observation. So that's the first thing that you do. When you see an organism that you want to focus on, you ask yourself, I noticed that, you put in it or you fill in the description. And then next is I wonder. I wonder why. Ask questions about it. Third, you make connections. So it reminds me of, does it remind you of another organism? Does it remind you of an experience that you have? So make connections by asking yourself or by filling in I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of. Then you can already create a story about your organism. Use all these three tools to learn about anything interesting for you. And then for numbers, this is just a supplement, and this allows you to have scientific value for your observations. So kunyari magdodrawing ka ng spider. Siyempre, minsan mahirap sabihin kung gaano kalaki, di ba? But instead of saying how big it is, rather than measuring it with a ruler, kasi baka tumakbo na siya, then you can just describe it in terms of scale. Mas malaki siya sa coin, 3 coin yung haba niya, o kaya naman itong dahon na nakikita niyo sa slide. I put my foot there as a reference kung gaano kalaki itong dahon na ito. So you can put scale to give your organisms or to give your sketches a reference of how big or what's its measurements are. So, wag kayong matakot na kailangan may ruler kayo lagi when you're trying to study your organisms. Pwede nyo gamitin yung mga body parts ninyo para i-measure yung mga nakikita natin sa environment. Okay, so ngayon naman, let's run through some of the key things, just very short and very fast lang, of what are the important features or important things that you must describe when you're looking at habitats. So what's to say about habitats? Well, habitats are actually hindi to static na isang type lang. Let's say forest. Usually they exist as a gradient. Meron yung mga transitionary zones between your two kinds of habitat. Like for example, dito sa picture, meron kang aquatic habitat na stream, and then meron siyang transition zone bago siya maging forest. So, it's important to note those minute differences na nagkakaroon muna ng mosses, tapos nagkakaroon na ng mga grasses, tapos nagkakaroon na ng mga small trees. And then later on, meron ng mga big trees and tall trees. So you can note that down because that is an important aspect of your habitat. And if you're a biologist or if you are really into nature journaling, you can even put parameters like air quality, water quality, pH, DO, temperature. So yun yung mga pwede nating i-measure at ilagay sa ating notes. But pwede rin mga simpleng bagay lang like substrate. Is it sand? Is it soil? Is it burak? O kaya mud? So we can write that down as well. And then for complexity, ito yung kung gaano ka-complex yung ating habitat. Kasi kunyari, may mga fallen na logs, that is actually a good complexity para mas marami pang mga organism ang mabuhay dun sa habitat na iyon. What's to say about plants naman? So, note lang, kung meron kayong mapipick up from my talk today, tandaan ninyo kapag magdodrawing kayo ng plant, wag na wag kayo magdodrawing ng isang leaf lamang. So like for example, itong leaf na to, it's not informative. Kapag pinakita nyo yan, hindi yan ma-identify kaagad-agad or mahirapan tayong i-identify siya. So when you're looking at plants, look at the habit. Is it a tree? Is it a shrub? Vine ba siya na gumagapang? O parang grass na mababa lang yung growth niya? You can also look at leaf arrangement. Like for example, dito sa figure, is it opposite yung dahon? O kaya alternate sila, one after the other? Or marami silang leaves sa isang node which we call world na habitat or world na arrangement. You can also look at the substrate. Is it on top of the tree? Is it on the ground? Is it creeping along the tree trunk? And of course, napaka-importante, if you see flowers and fruits, please note them down because those are very important features of your plant. So like for example, practice tayo. Kunyari itong halaman na to, I would say, I noticed that this plant has fruits and it has also seeds, just like this one, na kulay black. And yung leaf niya, medyo dark or medyo deeply yung pagkaka-vein nung kanyang leaves. Next, I wonder. Let's start to ask questions. Is this fruit ripe? Can this be eaten? Are there other birds or organisms eating this fruit? Then, it reminds me of, well, dahil malamig-lamig na ngayong panahon, it actually reminds me of Christmas. So, even though it's personal account, you can write it down because it helps you remember. And perhaps, dahil nga Christmas yung naalala mo, then you note na rin na tuwing Christmas, tuwing December or November, saka siya nagkakaroon ng fruit. So now we learn more about the phenology, kung kailan nagfruit tong mga halaman na ito. So how about naman for mga non-insect na mga invertebrate? Importanteng manote ang habitat, nakatira ba sila sa tubig, sa halaman, o kaya sa taas ng puno? Look at the appendages. Meron ba kayong nakikitang antena? Ilang legs yung nakikita nyo kung may legs sila? Ilang segment yung body nila? And then kung meron siyang mga features like exoskeleton o kaya mga shell, then try to note that down as well. You can even look at yung kanyang pattern. So like this one, dinodrawing ko, merong swirl pattern, di ba? Take note of that, na meron siyang swirl. Hindi siya parang Gary or parang ibang snail na patusok or cone-like yung kanyang feature. Parang cone, di ba? Yung ibang snail. So take note of that and that will help you identify and give life to your organism. Next naman, insects. So for insects, we look at the body form. Is it like Jollibee? Kamukha niya ba si Jollibee na mataba yung kanyang puwet? O kaya parang langgam na merong mapayat na waist o mapayat na baywang, di ba? You can also look at the wing pattern. Ano ba yung guhit-guhit na nandun sa wings niya? Nagne-net ba siya? Nagko-cross ba siya? And then you can also look at the exoskeleton. Meron bang hardened na part? Parang katulad ng mga salagubang. And importante rin sa mga insects is to look at yung interaction nila. Let's say, for example, yung mga caterpillar. Yung mga caterpillar, meron yung relationship with a specific plant. Na kapag yung caterpillar na to, usually, ito lang yung kinakain niyang halaman na dahon. So note that down kasi it will also help you get information about your insect. How about naman for herbs? When we say herbs, those are amphibians and reptiles. Again, you look at the body shape. Mapayat ba siya? Pahaba ba siya? And then look at the habitat. Parang katulad nitong frog na to, di ba? Ang cute-cute niya. At nakapatong siya sa mga puno. So probably, or actually I'm gonna tell you, this is a tree frog. And look at the color. Meron ba siyang bright orange, bright white, etc.? Feet morphology. Sa mga frogs natin, meron sila minsan na mga web in between the fingers. Minsan naman meron silang mga disc na parang suction. So note that down kasi importanteng feature siya about your frogs. And for reptiles naman, you can look at the scale pattern. So ito ay kinuha ko or dinrawing ko from the field sa Mount Iserog. And then dinrawing ko, tinry kong i-drawing yung mga scale patterns nila. So sabi ko dito, it wasn't a viper for sure because the head was like a colubrid, a family of snakes. The eyes were big and round, and it slithered away after a while, crunching the leaves along the way. So you can put down notes like that. Wala namang format na kailangan i-follow. You can be very creative. Walang format na kailangan words muna and then picture. Pwedeng gulo-gulo. Basta naiintindihan mo, basta nandun yung mga labels mo, then that's already a journal. So let's say, for example, for birds naman. This is what I was able to record in my school sa UP Diliman. So for birds, you can talk about the body form. So in this case, medyo ano lang siya, verb na parang chubby, and then maikli lang yung tail, and then yung size nila, small lang kasi tingnan mo naman yung wire, diba? Electric wire. Hindi naman siya sobrang laki. And then sa birds, importante rin yung beak shape. Is it pointed? Is it curved? Is it very, very long? So write that down because it speaks about the diet of your bird. And then, of course, plumage. Ano bang color niya? Ito, white yung kanyang breast part, di ba? Kaya ito ay tinatawag nating white-breasted water hen. Ay, water hen tuloy. Sorry, white-breasted wood swallow. Okay? And then, how about the sound? So, kapag sound, di ba ang hirap niya isulat? Pero pwede mo actually siyang isulat eh. So, yung akin, ang interpretation ko sa sound ng ibon na to ay gik-gik, gik-gik. Kaya naman, kanya-kanyang style yan, basta may way kang to represent either visually or through words kung ano yung sound ng naririnig mo. So, kunyari yung mga oriole, kung nakakita na kayo ng very bright yellow birds, ang sulat ko sa sound nila ay yow! Yow! So, that already helps you remind or it helps you remember kung ano ba yung sound na naririnig natin mula sa organisms na nakikita natin. Ato, so pagbigyan niyo na ako at pagpasensyahan niyo na ang aking drawing. So, these are your wood swallows. At ninote ko dito, for example, na yung kanyang beak parang ivory yung color, white yung kanyang ilalim ng wings, and then meron siyang note dito na I love to cuddle or loves to cuddle. Kasi they like to be side by side. Wala silang physical distancing. And then nilagay ko nga dito yung sound niya, geek geek, geek geek call. And kapag lumipad siya, ito yung kanyang shape at it reminds me of an airplane. Kasi glider sila eh. Kapag lumilipad sila, hindi sila masyadong nagfa-flap parang mga pigeon. So para silang mga airplane. And kapag nakita ko ng ganitong flight, alam ko na agad, oh, that's a wood swallow. So write down the things that you observe. It reminds you of an airplane. Write down that it reminds you of an airplane. And then ito yung metadata ko. November 4, nasa home sa may Valenzuela. Ito yung weather, and etc. So let's try, guys. I'd like to ask for everyone's participation by commenting again. So, ang una nating tanungin, di ba, is I noticed. By just looking at this crappy photo, sorry, can you guys type in the chat box what is one word or two word, a phrase that that immediately enters your mind? Can you type in the chat box a phrase or a word that immediately comes to your mind when you notice this bird? Black and white. Sabi nung iba, merong, I wonder if it runs fast. It has tall legs. O tingnan nyo naman, di ba? Parang dito maya. For sure, dito, Maya. It looks like a chicken. Yung mga nagugutom ngayong dinner, ito ay something very yummy, di ba? And then, look at it. Sabi ng isang nag-comment, the tail is curvy. Look at that. Bakit kaya ganyan? So, very good. Marami na tayong na-notice kagad, di ba? Nakita na natin yung kanyang general body shape na mukhang chicken. Submerged yata yung paa. So, mula pa lang doon, di ba? Parang submerged. So, ibig sabihin, mukhang water yung habitat nito. That's actually correct. And then it reminds me of a Roadrunner or cartoon. Tama. So, ayun, di ba? Ang bilis. Pagkatingin pa lang natin ng isang organism, marami na tayong pwedeng maisip about it. And that's the first step. That's already a story. That is already the beginning of a story. He or she is mad. Posible, tingnan nyo, medyo angry yung itsura, di ba? So, mula pa lang dito, sa I notice, meron na agad tayong mga I wonder. I wonder if it runs fast. I wonder if pwede yan sa sabong. I wonder, bakit mahaba yung tail niya? Why? Di ba? And then, meron na rin tayong mga masasabing it reminds me of. It reminds me of a chicken. It reminds me of a roadrunner. And from there, that's already the beginning of your journal. So, kung gusto niyo mag-sketch, sketch niyo lang to, tapos lagyan niyo ng label. Walang format, guys. Pwedeng random lang na, gold. Oh, wow, long tail. Diba? Pwedeng ganun lang. And then, look at me, or look at this legs. It's so thin. Bakit kaya thin? And then, syempre kapag nasa habitat ka, you know the itsura ng habitat. So, pwede mo ilagay na water. Diba? It looks exhausted. Diba? So, parang, just write whatever is in your mind. Don't worry about your sentences. Don't worry if this is meaningful, because nature journaling is also something very personal. It's also your connection, your unique connection with nature. So it doesn't have to have any correct or wrong answer. Ayan, so how about mammals? So mammals, kapag sinabi nating mammals, bats, o kaya naman mga daga, ayan, so kapag maraming daga sa bahay ninyo, pwede nyo silang gamitin pang practice ng inyong nature journal. Look at the body form. Mataba ba to? Mapayat ba to? Pahaba? May tail ba to? Yung tail niya ba furry na parang squirrel? O walang buhok na parang chihuahua? Anong color ng fur niya? Is it black? Is it orange? And so on? Is it big like a tamaraw? Or is it small like a bubwit? Diba? So, marami tayong pwedeng sabihin about mammals. And this is a bat that was just hanging around our backyard here in Valenzuela. So, aside from those I noticed, you can also put in stories of observations of behavior. So, like for example, ito, hindi lang sa mukha, guys. Sorry, mukha tong diba? Mukha tong alien. Pero this is actually a bee. It is a very fuzzy bee. And this bee has a very peculiar na behavior kung saan nag-hover siya at the same spot and then mag-fly around siya. Then pagbabalik ulit siya dun sa same spot and then mag-hover ulit siya. Ang tagal-tagal niya. Pinanood ko lang siya. Ang tagal-tagal niyang ginagawa to. So, sobrang interesting. So, it allowed me to draw it. And then, you can just put arrows to show movement. Di ba? And then, lagay lang kayo ng notes, fuzzy, yellow, orange. Tapos, carpenter bee size. Kasi meron akong idea na carpenter bee yung itsura niya. And then, so on. You have your metadata, you have your picture, and then you have your words. And dito naman is also another example. So, in this case, this is a nest. So, ito yung nest na to. Tapos, na-notice ko na ang entrance nila ay lagi dito sa branch na to. Never silang nag-exit or nagfa-fly away directly from the nest. So, yun yung nilagay ko at naglagay ako ng mga notes ko dito. Ayan. So, from all those things that we have mentioned, from all those details that I'm asking you to be aware of and to write down in your journal, the key question here is, bakit ba natin kailangan gawin to? How does it contribute to science? Well, by taking those notes, immediately alam na natin yung distribution na itong chicken-like bird na to ay nakikita pala sa Valenzuela. Na yung behavior pala ng eagle na to ay careful siya sa nest, hindi siya umaalis sa nest kasi baka masira yung nest. Na yung plant pala na to, yung kaninang plant na nakita natin na parang Christmas, ay nag-fruit at nagkakaroon ng seeds kapag November. Ayun, pati na rin yung development niya, 'di ba? Kasama na rin yun sa plant development. And then of course, yung ecology, ano ba yung mga interaction niya? So yung bee na nakita natin sa flower, meron pala silang relationship with each other. So that's very interesting. And by just putting them down in your notes, you can actually already contribute to science. Especially for the Philippines, na konting-konti lang ang scientist natin. Your notes are very important and you guys can become a citizen scientist. But for me, I just like to share na more than creating that data, more than gathering the distribution, the behavior, the ecology, and so on, what I like about nature journaling is that it can contribute to science by creating this culture of curiosity, this love for nature, so that our children or our kids will become more interested with science and they will become the future Jane Goodall, the future Dr. Jose Rizal, and the future Charles Darwin of the century. So, more than the data that you put in your notebook, you create a culture wherein we value nature. And we really need that in the Philippines because when there is appreciation, that is only the time when there is conservation. Okay? So, I'd like to end this talk by asking you guys this 5 steps lang. So, probably not tonight kasi gabi na at wala kayong makikita. Pero start your own journal entry. Kahit isang beses lang. Try nyo lang. Grab any notebook. Grab any pen or pencil. And then, yun na yung material mo. Pen and paper lang. Then go outside. When I say go outside, huwag yung dadalhin yung cellphone ninyo ha at magsa-chat lang kayo with your friends. But rather, be there in the moment, be immersed in nature, and find an object that piques your interest. Halaman ba na nasa gilid ng bato? Ibon na lumilipad sa taas? Whatever it is, focus on that object and use words, pictures, and numbers to tell a story about your organism. And then you also put metadata. Anong oras? Anong panahon? Kamusta ang weather? And so on. Okay? So, dun sa mga nakatira sa Metro Manila, just like me, or nakatira sa mga sa mga urban areas, just remember that there is life everywhere. All these pictures that are shown here on the slide, these are all taken inside Metro Manila. So if Metro Manila is already houses such biodiversity, then for sure, may mahanap kayong biodiversity kung saan man kayo sa mundo. Pati itong mga halaman na to, they're just found inside the city. So just be immersed in nature and look out and go out and explore. Let's return the childlike wonder that we have before and be amazed again by the organisms that are around us. Okay, there is biodiversity even in the cities. And at that, I'd like to end my talk. Thank you again for listening to me, and I hope you guys will start your first journal entry. And before I also leave or before I also close my presentation, I'd like to invite everyone to please follow these pages, the UP Wild and the Ateneo Wild. You can also share your entries there. You can just message the page, and perhaps we can even feature your entries. So check out those pages. We're in Facebook and IG, and let's explore biodiversity, urban biodiversity together. Okay, thank you so much. I hope you enjoy it. And if you have any question, please ask them away in the chat box.
Jelaine, we have a question from one of our YouTube viewers. We're also streaming on YouTube, by the way. This is from the Desena Maria Angelica. How long do you need to observe an organism?
That's a very good question. At huwag yung isipin na, oh my God, ang dami ko pang gagawin, may remote learning pa ako, etc. Wala akong time para mag-nature journal. Well, let me tell you na pwedeng 10 minutes lang. Just 10 minutes of your time. use this as a break as well from screen time. Go out, use 10 minutes, observe an organism, and magugulat kayo, ang dami nyo nang nasulat tungkol dun sa organism na yun. So, ngayong quarantine, gusto ko lang pala i-share, ngayong quarantine, meron akong pick up na hobby or habit kung saan everyday, gumawa ako ng isang entry sa aking journal kung ano yung tumatak sa isip ko. So, 5 minutes lang yung time na spend ko dito, pero ang rami ko nang nasusulat. At ngayon, ang sarap yung balikan. Parang binabalik-balikan ko sana, yun pala yung naramdaman or yun pala yung mga nakita ko nung araw na yan. So don't worry, 10 minutes lang. Try nyo, 10 minutes lang, okay na yan.
Okay, thank you. And from John Mark Aros, he's asking, what notebook do you use for journaling?
So, kung sa backyard nyo lang naman, kahit anong notebook, pwede na. Ako, gusto ko ng something that is handy, very small, na kung saan-saan lang, lalagay ko lang sa pocket and then I'll bring it with me on the field. In other case, kung talagang pupunta kayo sa isang field na kunyari, you expect to get wet, you expect to rain, then you can use yung mga very sturdy na notebook. Meron mga nabibiling Write in the Rain na notebook, tapos mga hardbound notebook para hindi malusaw yung mga sinusulat mo. So it depends on the condition or depends on the field that you are planning to go to. Pero any notebook will do.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions we got from chat. Thank you,
Ayan,
Jelaine.
salamat!
Okay. So baka may pahabol pa ng mga tanong. You can still go ahead and write your questions on the chat box. Because some members of our group may be able to answer later, no? Kapag wala na si Jelaine. Oo.
Sorry, I'm here.
Oh, yeah, sige. Andiyan pa naman si Jello.
Okay na ka.
Let me see. Okay, so now that we have heard from Jelaine and her perspective on what it is that needs to be written down when you are going out for a walk in the park or going out in the forest, no? So now, titingnan natin more closely what is inside a journal of an artist, no? So ito naman, in the perspective of an artist, ano kaya ang itsura ng journal ng isang artist, no? So, let's dive into the talk of Arnel Telesforo now. Sige. Sige, Nel, you can share your screen now.
Okay. Hi everyone, good evening. And welcome sa talk na ito. So I hope you enjoyed dun sa talk ni Jelaine. Thank you, Jelaine, sa talk, and you saved me a lot sa talk. And salamat sa mga tips. Salamat din sa mga binigay mo sa kanilang mga idea, behavior and attitude kapag nasa labas ng nature o nasa outdoor sila. So ngayon, pag-uusapan natin naman ngayon is kung ano daw yung nasa loob ng mga journal o yung drawing notebook ko. So nakita niyo sa background ko, isa yan sa mga drawings na marami na ginawa ko, and this is on the spot, no, na drawing back then. So but before we go that, discuss ko lang kung ano yung ibig sabihin ng drawing sa mata ng artist. So what is drawing? So wala talagang consensus na o sa literature ng solid na definition kung ano ibig sabihin ng drawing. So pag sinabing ano ang ibig sabihin ng drawing, sabihin sketch, diagram, external representation, mode, visualization, illustration, doodle, di ba? Yung mga kung ano-ano lang. So walang definition. So maski mag-Google kayo at i-type nyo na what is drawing, maraming lalabas na ibig sabihin ng drawing. Okay? So Yun yung ibig sabihin, no? So parang maski ako hindi ko ma-define kung ano ibig sabihin ng drawing, no? Okay, so bakit tayo nagdo-drawing? Una-una, dito tayo me as an artist, lahat ng sasabihin ko sa inyo is based sa aking experience, no? Personal experience as an artist. So, mas madali ako makapag-communicate kapag nagdo-drawing ako. Okay, so halimbawa meron akong sasabihin na idea, ito yung gusto kong mangyari, ganito yung itsura niya. And then kung hindi ko ma-explain ng maayos dahil minsan ang kausap ko din ay artist, so ang gagawin ko, pupunta ako sa level ng me as an artist doon sa kung saan kami parehong magkakaintindihan. So ito-drawing ko yung isang bagay. And then hindi pa ako tapos doon sa dinodrawing ko, gets niya na kagad. So that's the way ako makipag-communicate or paano kami mag-communicate ng ibang artist. Same thing, 'di ba? Remember kapag naglalaro tayo ng Pictionary sa kagaya ng ginagawa ko sa mga students ko before ako magkaroon ng class. Naglalaro kami ng Pictionary kasi nagtuturo ako ng visual arts, no? So ang ginagawa ko, bibigay ako ng word, alam niyo na kung ano yung paano ang game ng Pictionary, and then ida-drawing nila. So magti-team up yan sila. So malalaman mo ngayon kung ano yung level ng kanilang visual, yung kanilang visual vocabulary. Makikita nyo ngayon kung malalim na ba o mababaw pa o katamtaman lang. So in a way, doon mo makikita ngayon kung paano magko-communicate yung mga students, no? Second, nagre-record tayo. So isang way is to record this, yung ating mga ginagawa. Like me, dahil nga this is nature journaling, so isang way para ma-record ko yung mga nakikita ko outside, especially sa loob ng gubat or minsan lang maski sa loob ng airport, no? O kaya kahit saan ako magpunta or may nakita lang ako magandang simbahan o bahay, so ito-drawing ko siya. So nire-record ko yung bagay na yun. Pangatlo is dito na-express yung emotion nyo. No? Yung ano yung nararamdaman mo. Halimbawa, nakita mo yung isang puno na yun na sobrang ganda. Doon pa lang, nakita mo na yung feeling mo, ang ganda ng puno. So na-appreciate mo na. So the next thing you will do is, kung meron ka nag-i-start ka na mag-journal, ida-drawing mo yung puno. Mas kahig manok, di ba? Ida-drawing mo pa rin siya. Pero alam mo, ni drawing na yon ay sobrang maganda para sa'yo. Kasi in-express mo yung emotion mo, yung feeling mo doon sa drawing na yun, nung makita mo yung puno. So, yun yung reason bakit tayo nagdo-drawing, no? Next is, how does drawing benefit us? Number one, it calms us down. So, especially me, kapag medyo stress ako minsan, no, ang gagawin ko, kukuha ko lang ako ng lapis at papel, and then mag-start na ako mag-doodle. Wala akong iniisip, hindi ako nag-iisip, magdo-doodle lang ako kung ano dinodrawing ko. And then, in time, kumakalma ako, and then yung stress level ko bumababa, and then makikita ko na, parang okay itong drawing ko, and then tinutuloy-tuloy ko na. No? Nag-start na ako magtuloy-tuloy mag-drawing. Pangalawa, it build new connection and pathways in our brain. I think nabanggit ito ni Jelaine kanina. So, yung brain ninyo, yung mga sa brain natin na hindi lang natin nakikita, nagki-create tayo ng bagong link dun sa brain natin. So, nagkakaroon ka ng bagong muscle. So, yung brain muscle. Actually, ang pagdodrawing ay isang part ng brain exercise, no? So, nagiging sanay yung brain mo na mag-drawing ng dahon. Kung puro dahon ang dinodrawing mo, eventually, hindi ka na mahihirapan mag-drawing ng dahon. Parang gitara. Sa unang paggigitara mo, pag nag-aaral ka mag-gitara, kung i-strum mo ang chord A, mahirap pa. Chord D, mahirap. And then eventually, pag tinatry mo na siya ng matagal, nasasanay na yung brain mo. So, brain muscle lang, no? So, pangatlo is, ginagamit natin yung magkabilang hemisphere ng brain natin. So, yung creative and your logical thinking. Sa ibang tao, iniisip nila, kasi nga, especially me, no? Isipin ko na, creative lang ako, hindi ako logical. So, hindi ako logical na tao, basta ako creative lang ako. Extreme creative ako eh. So, ngayon, marami na mga studies na lumalabas na ang creative and logical thinking is nagbe-blur na yung line between the two. So, nagiging iisa na lang siya. So, actually, pag creative ka pala, logical ka rin in a way. No? So pag logical ka, ibig sabihin in a way, creative ka rin in such a way, no? So ginagamit mo yung pareho mong brain, hindi patay yung isa lang ang gumagana, logic lang, puro logic, or puro creative, No. So creative and logic. So creativity and yung creativity at yung logical brain nagiging isa. Kaya nga tinatawag yung sa creative meron kang form. Sa logic meron kang function. So form and function, ano yan, magkasama yan palagi, hindi yan pwedeng maghiwalay. Pang-apat, it helps you develop focus and ability to think strategically. So yun, nasabi na rin ni Jelenia at nabanggit niya na rin kanina yon. And pang-lima, na heighten yung ating observational skills and deepens your memory. Actually, this is true and na-prove ko na ito kasi dahil isa rin akong traditional animator, and back then ang exercise na ginagawa namin is mag-observe lang ng tao, mga taong naglalakad, taong tumatakbo. Lahat inobserbahan namin, puno, hayop, tao, sasakyan, talsik ng tubig, tulo ng tubig, yung paggalaw ng clouds, paano mag-react ang apoy kapag binusa mo ng tubig o hinipan mo ang kandila. Lahat inoobserbahan namin. Kasi part yun ng job para pag inanimate mo yung something, realistic yung approach, hindi ka nanguhula. So yung observational skills namin, pataas ng pataas. So tumataas ng tumataas. So alam namin na may physics yung ginagawa namin. No? So part ng logic na yon. Hindi lang siya creative. So logical na lahat, no? Meron na siyang purpose. Meron na siyang reason bakit ganun. So na-explain mo bakit ganun. Okay? So at the same time, pag tumataas ang inyong observational skills, lumalalim din yung memory mo. Naaalala mo siya, hindi mo na siya nakakalimutan. Ako, especially me, mas naalala ko ang panahon, ano yung situation back then, rather than kung anong date o anong year. Kaya magulo yung aking calendar brain eh. So, pero matatandaan ko kung anong feeling, anong color ng clouds, ano yung sasakyan na nasa paligid ko, lahat yun natatandaan ko. Pero yung time and date, hindi ko siya basta matandaan. Okay? So, yun yung isang nangyayari sa akin. Pang-anim is meditative siya. Actually, matagal ko na siyang discover na pag ako nagdo-drawing, alam ko na nagme-meditate ako. So, it's one way of doing this is, kunyari, kung gusto ko mag-meditate, nagdo-drawing lang ako. Drawing, kung ano dinodrawing ko. Okay? And then, alam ko na nakakapag-meditate na ako in a way. Okay? So, yun yung benefit. Ito yung mga benefits na nakukuha natin pag nagdo-drawing tayo. Okay? So next, ano yung mga materials? Ito na yung mga materials na kakailanganin. Back then, nag-talk ako, so marami ako masyadong materials na pinakita at nagulat yung mga audience kasi baka kala nila yun talaga yung materials na kailanganin. So, papakita ko lang sa inyo kung ano yung mga materials na pwede nyong gamitin, no? Okay? So, ito yung mga materials. Unang-una, pwede kayong gumamit ng notebook o drawing notebook, pencils, ball pens, pen and ink, watercolor, etc. Pwede rin kayong gumamit ng eraser, ruler, sharpener, and ziplock. Parang ziplock? Para saan ang ziplock? No? So ang ziplock kasi importante yan, especially kapag nasa forest ka. Kung wala kang waterproof na notebook at mahirap maghanap ng waterproof na notebook, kailangan mo ng ziplock para pag umulan, mabilis mo mailagay sa loob yung notebook mo sa loob ng ziplock kasama ng mga gamit mo. So ito yung mga gamit na kailanganin nyo para hindi kayo mahirapan. Actually, mga simple lang to, either ball pen, yan, lapis, mga lapis na ordinaryong lapis, especially this one, okay, Mongol. Kung mahilig kayong gumamit ng pen, pwede rin kayong gumamit ng pen. At eraser, itong handy eraser o kaya kneaded eraser or some regular eraser. So yan lang yung mga gamit natin, ito lang. So hindi na mahirap Ngayon, kung halimbawa nasa outdoor kayo at pwede rin kayong magdala ng foldable chair na magagaan. So para kung gusto niyo komportable kayo pag nagdo-drawing kayo, makakaupo kayo ng maayos. Kasi sa experience ko, pag nasa outdoor kami, kailangan ko maghanap ng maupuan na maayos. Kung hindi, magulo yung drawing ko, hindi ako makakapag-drawing na maayos. So, luckily, yung lahat ng mga drawing kong outdoor is nakakahanap ako ng matinong upuan. And I make sure na kapag uupo na ako, kailangan pakakalmahin ko muna yung sarili ko. Obserbahan ko lahat ng bagay. Pakikinggan ko ang sound, titignan ko yung paligid, raramdaman ko yung amoy, ano yung mainit ba, malamig ba. So kailangan malamok ba, maniknik ba, may ahas ba sa likod ko, ayan, yung mga ganyan. So para aware yung brain mo at aware ang body mo sa situation na meron ka. Okay? So kasi tandaan natin, usually yung mga journaling is outdoor. Okay? So iilan lang o bilang sa time na meron ako minsan na indoor yung mga ginagawa ko. So may mga ginagawa rin akong indoor work, pero most of the time kapag nasa labas ako, especially kung nasa gubat ako, outdoor, talagang live, okay? On the spot na drawing. Okay? So yan yung mga ginagawa ko. So ang gagawin ko ngayon, uupo ako and then unti-unti kong i-eliminate yung mga naririnig ko at magfo-focus na ako doon sa aking ginagawa. Kasi kapag hindi ako nakapag-focus, na-overwhelm ako, hindi ko na alam yung gagawin ko. So, yun yung time na kailangan mag-focus ako. Okay? So, yan yung mga tip na pwede kong mga nasabi ko sa inyo and yung ano yung magiging, ano yung mga dapat yung gawin at ano yung mga materials na kailanganin nyo. Okay. So, pupunta na tayo sa loob ng drawing notebook ko. Adventure tayo sa loob. So, yung mga ipapakita kong drawing sa inyo, ito ay yung mga base sa mga totoong buhay ng experience sa field journaling. Okay? So, ang una-una mga ibon. So, ibon muna yung papakita ko sa inyo. So, itong ibon na to. So, makikita nyo na yung drawing ko, ito ay naalala ko nagpunta ako sa Taiwan noon. Lahat ng drawing na to ay on the spot habang nagbe-bird watching kami. Kaya medyo magulo yan. So kasi especially this one kasi talagang drawing kong nakatayo ito. At nagmamadali kami kasi nga may pupuntahan pa kaming iba. So once na makita ko siya, kailangan i-photograph ko na kagad sa brain ko kung ano yung itsura niya talaga. So i-describe ko yung color like this one. Halimbawa nitong magpie, sasabihin ko black ang kanyang face, gray, dark brown magpie, o black yung kanyang likod. Okay? Cinnamon, Himalayan tree pie. Ito ay isang Himalayan tree pie, no? So ito naman isa ay Chinese bulbul. So sabihin ko white yung kanyang throat. So simple lang, ano? Mapapansin nyo, hindi ako nagbibigay ng mga sobrang malalalim na color names, no? Yung mga halimbawa ng mga yellow ochre, canary yellow, sunburst yellow, ayan, warm gray, 50% blue, 50% gray. Wala, hindi ko sinasabi yon. Basta mabilisan lang, brown, red, pink, blue, white. Yan, mga ganyan. So, para mas mabilis. On the spot kasi yan, mabilisan, no? And then, especially this bird, first time ko nakita to nung nasa Taiwan kami. So, dinescribe ko, the tail is wagging left and right. So, simpleng-simple lang. So, yung mga description na ganyan, lahat yan simple lang. Hindi yan siya heavy duty na anong tawag dito? Heavy description, ano? So, simpleng-simple lang. This one, this one, ito yung Chinese bulbul. Sorry, hindi ko na-flip. Anyways, so ito na yung yellow, white. So, simple lang, ano, guys. Hindi ganun ka-extensive yung aking pag-name. So, ito na yung, pasensya na rin at medyo gula-gulanit na yung mga notebook. So, dito ko na realize na or makikita mo yung pagkakaiba ng Wimbrel, okay, sa mga Far Eastern curlew, okay. So yung tuka niya, yung body niya. So, ini-explain ko, sinasabi ko lang na yung body is quite long and slim. So, underneath yung flank niya is white. So, ganun lang ang simple lang ang description. So, ito naman yung nasa Thailand kami, nakita ko yung isang ibon na ito. Ito nga, inong ibon ito. I think this is Caspian tern. Okay. So, ito naman yung spoonbill. Ito yung talk of the town. Ito yung sikat na sikat ibon ngayon sa Pinas. Dahil nandiyan siya sa Nabotas. Anyway, so ito na si spoonbill. At nakita ko talaga in the wild, ganito sila umupo. Yan. Nung nakita ko siya in the wild na ganyan siya umupo, nagulat ako, wow, ganun pala umupo yun. So, drawing kaagad ako. So makikita nyo, mayroong traktora sa likod, no? Kasi yung area na to ay isang malaking marshland. At sa likod, mayroong fish pond at may mga nagtaratraktora doon sa likod. Okay, so yan din. Pag nakatayo siya, ganyan din ang itsura niya. Yan. Sinusulat ko lang, wow, mali. So kapag nasa dry land, ganyan lang pag nakaupo, pag ganyan. Okay, so standing on one foot, water. Okay. So ganyan lang, hindi medyo kengko yun yung mga pinagsasabi ko diyan, hindi na ganoon ka-complicated, no? Una-una kasi, of course, hindi naman kasi ako scientist, ako ay isang artist. So ganun lang kasimple. So ito pa yung isa pang klase ng ibon na nakita ko. Okay? Kita nyo, kahig manok, ang dumi. So, yan, walang yan, wala akong yun nga sinasabi ni Ma'am Jeline. Walang walang rules. Drawing lang, describe. No? So ito pa yung iba. Yan yung mga iba pang ibon na ito yung drawing ni Tintin na nung makita namin to at nung makita, wow, ano yun? Gulat na gulat kami kasi wow, ibang ibon yun, hindi yun spoonbill. So sacred ibis pala yun, escapee pala siya. So yan yung mga nakakatuwa dun pag nasa field ka, kung ano nakikita mo, no? So, yan. Next, hindi lang ibon, pati yung feather, dinodrawing ko din. So, dinidescribe ko yung feather. So, this one, this 2010. So, along the trail, going to Cambulo, Barangay, etc. Dinidescribe ko yung ibon, yung nakuha kong feather. Then, drawing ko lang siya pagdating namin dun sa camp. And then, simpleng drawing lang. Tapos yung cross-section ng tail, ganito itsura niya kapag hinati mo siya sa gitna kasi putol na yung tail na nakuha ko. So yan yung mga simpleng description. So like this one, yung tail ng blue magpie, ganyan lang siya kasimple. Okay? Yan, medyo nagiging complicated na ako. Meron na ako nalalaman na midnight blue. Yan, navy blue. Okay? So ganyan na, nag-start na ako mag-create ng color. So ito naman is yung hornbill. So ano yung pagkakaiba ng Manilay at ng Panini? So this is Manilay, the Luzon, and Panini is the Panay. So makikita nyo yung Manilay ang tail. Pareho lang halos ng katawan, pero yung tail magkaiba. Black-green ang kanyang tail. Actually hindi siya green. Yung iridescent lang siya, kaya nagbumukha siyang green. And then yung sa gitna ng bar ay parang medyo rufous. And then this one also light orange and then black. So yun yung pagkakaiba. Another one is the buceros or the Luzon hornbill. No? So this is the Luzon hornbill. This is the Mindanao or the semi-galeatus. So makita nyo, very simple lang ang aking description. Nothing fancy. Ice blue, black ang mata, black yung kanyang part ng kanyang head dito sa mata niya. So ganun lang kasimple, no? Mabilisan lang din, mabilisan. Hindi siya sobrang quick, sobrang detailed, no? Kasi ang importante, ma-describe mo lang siya kagad. And then later on, tignan mo kung ano yung mga ibon na to. Okay? So punta naman tayo sa plants. Ito naman, sa plants naman tayo. Okay. Ito naman, nung first time ko makita itong puno na to, banyal, during the time na kung saan nag-survey kami ni Ma'am Lala noon, gulat na gulat ako at gandang-ganda ako sa puno na to. Sobrang ganda kasi nagulat ako, wow, ang laki ng dahon. Kasi ang lalaki. No, mas malaki pa sa ulo ko yung dahon. At talagang gandang-ganda ako sa kanya, kaya drinowing ko siya on the spot. So, tinanong ko si Ma'am Lala, anong puno siya? And then sabi niya, banyal. So, yan yung puno ng banyal. And this one is the big tree. So, nung nasa camp na kami, papahinga na kami. So, drinowing ko siya. Tibig. Okay. On the spot din yan. So, 3:59 p.m. Kung ano yung date, nakikita nyo, meron time and date. Yan lang yung mga sinusulat kong ibang description. So, ito naman yung mga plants na nakita ko sa loob ng Lamesa Eco Park. Again, ang color niya simple lang to white. Okay, hindi na complicated. Yellow petals with red dots. Orchid siya. I know some of you alam kung anong orchid ito. Okay, this one also another puno. I think this also tibig. Pero kikita nyo na merong malaking puno sa likod niya. Okay? So, silhouette lang. Again, nakafocus lang ako sa puno na ito. Hindi ko na drinowing yung buong nakikita ko, no? This one also, ito isa pang klase ng puno na nakita ko. I think this one is tulip, African tulip tree or something like that. And then hindi ko siya na-identify. So anyways, ito yung mga dahon na nakikita ko along the way. Meron ako makita, ang ganda ng dahon, pulutin ko, ipit ko sa notebook. And then, ayan, so nilagyan ko na ng tape para hindi masira. No? Yung iba, kita nyo may crack na, nagkahiwalay-hiwalay na. And then, this one is the Bidens pilosa. Thank you to Sir Ulysses Pereras, our botanist. Magaling na botanist siya yung nag-identify ng plant na ito. Sa Ipugaw nilang makikita ata ito, no? Sa itaas doon, sa itaas ng Banawe. Okay, so ito naman yung mga dahon na drinowing ko. Makikita niyo may mga simpleng description, malakamanga, salusalungot ang tubo ng dahon sa sanga. So, kita niyo, no? Simple lang ang description. Mataas na puno, diretso ang pagkakatubo, may guwit-guwit, and so on. Diretso ang katawan. So, ganyan yung description ko. Kasi, pag nag-i-English ako, minsan, kung ano-ano nasusulat ko. So, tinatagalog ko na lang. Tapos, minsan, ang Tagalog ko, medyo barok pa. So, basta naintindihan ko siya. Kasi ako lang, notebook ko naman yun. So, ako lang nakakaintindi. Okay, so, meron akong tangisang bayawak, payapa, tambaw, pitong, yan, banaba. So, yan yung mga makikita nyo sa loob ng gubat. Okay. So, ito naman yung mga sa aking current notebook. So, medyo kinukulayan ko na yung iba. So, this is Nara. So, yan yung drawing ko ng Nara. Dito lang sa loob ng village, mamasyal lang ako. So, namulot ako ng bunga ng Nara. And yung bell pepper sa likod ng aming garden. Dahil nakakatuwa ang itsura niya. Ang ganda-ganda, maski gula-gulanit na yung dahon. Pero, ang ganda niya pa rin tignan kasi sobrang green na green siya. And this one is the banaba. Okay. So yan yung mga plants na drinowing ko. Okay. So ito yung this one is in Ibahay, in Panay sa Kalibo. Ito yung isa pinakamatandang mangrove sa I think sa buong Asia. Dito lang makikita sa Pilipinas 'yon. So this is a century-old mangrove. Back in 2011, drinowing ko siya on the spot. Tignan niyo mabuti yung drawing. Silhouette lang siya, hindi siya masyadong detailed. Pero kasi nung makita ko siya, ang nag-strike sa akin yung silhouette. Yung hindi na yung mga itsura ng sanga, kung ano-ano lang. Pero ang nakita ko yung ganda ng silhouette niya. Kasi black yung itsura niya, sobrang tanda na ng plant. Ngayon, in 2020, drinowing ko siya ulit, but this time on the other side naman. Sa kabilang side naman. So ito na, medyo naging seryoso na ako. Drinowing ko na yung mga maliliit na dahon na tumutubo. So mapapansin nyo ito, putol na yung sanga. This one, Itong nasa kaliwa ko, kung babalik tayo sa unang drawing, ito siya. So mapapansin nyo, ito yung unang sanga, yung putol na, ito na siya ngayon, naputol na. No? So, matagal na rin, sobrang tagal na rin ito. I mean, century old na siya. No? So, yan yung mga drawings ko ng puno. Next is yung others naman, meaning kung ano-ano lang. So, ito na ayan. Actually, ito, nasa plants din dapat to. So, ito yung, by the way, ito si Mang Ed, yung aming AITA guide. Naturalist din yan siya. Sobrang galing sa gubat. As in, lahat. Maraming nagsasabi, 99% ng puno sa gubat, kaya niyang bigyan ng pangalan. Napapangalanan niya. Okay? So, yan si Mang Ed, ang aming kaibigan at aming mga kasama sa gubat. Ito yung lipang kalabaw at lipang daga. Kapag nadikitan kayo, ewan ko na lang saan kayo pupulutin. Sobrang kati. Actually, nadali ako nito. 1 week na pulang-pula yung braso ko, na halos 6 inches yung haba nung tumama sa akin, at sobrang kate, pero hindi ko siya kinakamot kasi nga lalo siyang mamumula at baka magdugo. So hinayaan ko lang siyang mawala after a week. Next, ito naman yung sa loob ng native sa Bataan din. Ito yung bahay ng isang magsasaka na nasa loob ng gubat. So makikita nyo na sa foreground, makikita nyo marami na siyang punong pinutol para taniman ng kamote, mais, palay. Pero sinasabi niya, tinanong namin siya, bakit hindi mo inaani yung palay? Ang sabi nung magsasaka, pagkain yan para sa mga ibon. Wow! So doon pa lang nagulat kami, okay. So, medyo natuwa kami, pero nalungkot kasi kami dahil marami siyang naputol na puno. Okay. So, ito yung lugar na to. Marami kaming kwento dito ni Ma'am Lala sa lugar na to. So, this one, okay, punta naman tayo sa north, sa may Ifugao. So, hindi lang ibon, hindi lang halaman ang dinodrawing ko. So, kung ano yung nakita ko na bago sa mata ko, wow, ang ganda! Idodrawing ko siya. So, yan. So, ito yung bahay ng mga taga-Ifugao, yung traditional house nila. No? This one is yung kanilang, kumbaga sa yung barn house nila ito. Ito, barn house nila. So, may mga pangalan kung ano yung, natuto pa akong kung ano sa Ifugao ang suklay. So, ayan, sinusulat ko kung ano ang mga nakasulat dyan. So, may tao rin. So ito rin yung nasa Ifugao kami, pagkagaling namin doon sa may Kambulo. Ito yung area na kung saan nag-overnight kami kasi hindi na kami makalabas dahil sobrang gabi na. Wala rin kami masasakyan. So ang ginawa namin, nag-overnight kami sa isang abandoned na bahay. At nung gabing iyon, umulan ng sobrang lakas. And the next day, pag alis namin, puro landslide na doon sa area. So, kita nyo, yung mga drawings na yan, yung mga drawings na pinakita ko sa inyo, nagtitrigger yan ng memory sa akin. Kaya nga sinabi ko sa inyo na nagiging mataas yung observational skills nyo, tumataas, at ang inyong memory lumalalim. So, nagkakaroon kayo ng nostalgia, gaya ni sabi ni Ma'am Jeline, doon sa mga artwork ninyo, sa mga drawings, or sa mga journals na ginawa ninyo. So, another one, this one is in Aurora. Okay, so nakakatawa yung drawing na to, on the spot din ito, no? Ito yung campsite namin. Makikita nyo maraming puno and medyo madilim yung area. At ang hindi ko makakalimutan na sa lugar na ito ay sobrang maniknik at maingay ang ilog dahil nasa tabi kami ng ilog, nag-set ng camp, at parang wala kaming problema sa tubig. So makikita nyo naman yung mga sampay na damit, ayan. So on the other side, ito naman yung kabilang side nung camp. Itong tent na ito, diyan ako natutulog. So makikita nyo, ito si Mang Ed. Yan yung aming guide. So ito siya. Habang naghahanda siya ng merienda ng grupo, dinodrawing ko siya. On the spot din to, guys. Nakatayo lang ako sa likod niya, tapos dinodrawing ko siya ng mabilisan. Kaya makikita nyo na medyo yung lines hindi define. Eventually, yung bandang huli na lang, nung nakuha ko ng i-drawing si Mang Ed, kasama ng mga prutas, dinagdagan ko na lang ang usok or mga impression ng puno. No? So may naiwan pa palang mga dahon doon sa lugar. Ito, yung mga bulaklak na nakuha ko doon. Okay, ito si Mang Ed. Nung nag-harvest siya ng mga prutas na nakuha namin, kasama ko siya. Recently, drinowing ko lang ito kasi parang, nag-exist pa pala itong picture na to. So, drinowing ko siya dun sa using picture. Again, walang masama, maski picture lang. Kaya nga sinabi ni Ma'am Jeline, kung may camera kayo at wala kayong time to draw on the spot, kunan nyo ng picture and then pag uwi nyo, saka nyo i-drawing. Walang problema yon kasi even yung mga ibang artists ay ginagawa yun. Okay. So, ito pa rin yung bahay na nakita namin. Okay. Ito yung puno na white lawaan. Nung nagpunta kami sa Calayan Island, ito ay white lawaan na sobrang laki. Kung tutuusin, mukha lang siya maliit. Pero pag tumayo ako dito, ito ako, tapos andito lang ako. So, yan lang ang height ko. Okay. So, ito yung white lawaan. And this one, ito naman yung barn house o imbakan ng mga gulay at itlugan na rin ng mga manok. So, itong bahay ay gawa sa talahib and yung walls niya ay halos lahat ng kahoy na ito ay kuha sa nara o white lawaan. Imagine niyo, nara lang lahat yan. Nara yung ginamit niyang pang-cover lang. Tapos, ang kapal ng wood ay nasa 1.5 inches. So, makapal na yun. Sa Calayan Island to. Okay, so, yes, nagdo-drawing din ako ng frogs. So, yan yung mga frogs na dinonawing ko. So, kilala nyo, I think, maski black and white yan, ma-identify ng mga ating mga scientist friends, mga biologists natin na friends na mahilig sa palaka. So, ayan yung mga palaka na nakikita natin. Si Platymantis dorsalis, si Kalula, si green pond frog. So, yan yung kanyang tsura no, pag black and white. Okay, so this one guys, by the way, itong mga palaka na ito ay naka-base ito sa picture. No? So, dinodrawing ko lang siya kapag actually halos araw-araw, every night bago ako matulog, nagdo-drawing ako. So, para na-exercise ko pa rin yung pagdodrawing ko, hindi ko nakakalimutan o hindi, kumbaga sa ano yung sinasabi ng mga ibang artist, matigas na yung kamay mo. Yan. So, kailangan mag-drawing ka na mag-drawing para hindi maging matigas yung kamay mo pag nagdo-drawing ka o maging mabigat. So, yan na yung mga drawing ng palaka. So, okay. Punta man tayo. Sino yung mga kakilala natin o actually hindi natin kakilala? Sino yung mga datihan na mga famous na naturalist? Nandyan si John James Audubon. So, andyan din si Alfred Russel Wallace, si Charles Robert Darwin, at si Leonardo da Vinci. Wow, si Leonardo da Vinci ay isang naturalist? Yes, naturalist din po siya. Kasi sa mga drawings niya, makikita nyo na pinakita niya rin yung kanyang galing sa pag-drawing ng human anatomy. So, very detailed lahat ng mga drawings niya kung titingnan nyo. Now, kung i-google nyo ang mga pangalan na ito, guys, magugulat kayo sa mga works ng mga taong ito. I mean, talagang sobrang far out, bagas out of this world yung mga works nila, yung mga drawings, yung mga sketches, yung mga descriptions and everything. So, masasabi ko lang guys, huwag kayong ma-frustrate kung hindi niyo pa makuha yung mga gusto niyo i-drawing kasi natural talaga natural yun na bagay sa mga baguhang artist. Ang masasabi ko lang is huwag kayong matakot. Huwag kayong matakot mag-drawing. Basta mag-drawing lang kayo na mag-drawing. Walang pipigil sa inyong mag-drawing. Okay? Kunin niyo yung notebook niyo at mag-drawing lang kayo. Okay, so ang gagawin natin is tuturuan ko kayo mag-drawing ng ibon particularly. So ang gagamitin nating method is yung tinatawag na cup system method, no? So yung cup system method ay na-develop ito noong 2016 dahil wala akong magawa nung nasa bahay ako that time. So nagdo-doodle lang ako, kasi gusto kong painitin muna yung kamay ko sa mga drawing. So kaka-drawing kong ganun, nakapag-develop ako ng pwede pala yun. Tapos at the same time, habang nagdo-drawing ako, pinagmamasdan ko yung baso na nasa harapan ko, yung cup. So from there, naka-develop ako ng way para makapag-drawing mabilis na ibon kasi nga naman outdoor. So pag nasa outdoor ka, wala kang time to draw yung talagang full anatomy ng ibon, ano? Kasi ang importante kasi sa journaling, especially kung sa description ng ibon, is mabilis. Kasi ang ibon hindi ka naman niya hihintayin eh. Pag nakita mo yan siya at matakot siya, alis na siya. So anong gagawin mo? So ang gagawin mo, i-describe mo lang siya. Ito yung nakita ko, ang color, ganito. Okay, so ngayon, para naman magkaroon ng sense yung description nyo, lalagyan natin siya ng drawing. So, mag-start tayo mag-drawing, ang gagamitin natin ay yung tinatawag na cup system. So ito yung cup system, no? Yan. Saan na yun? Okay. Ba't tayo lumabas? Anyways, so yung cup system, ipapakita ko sa inyo okay, so kita nyo, ito yung cup system na sinasabi ko. So ito yung cup, and then imagine niyo yung cup, na itong cup na ito ay yung kanyang body. Okay? And then yung handle ng cup ay yung head. So ang gagawin natin, i-break down natin yung deconstruct natin yung cup, and then ito na yung mangyayari sa kanya. So ipopositioning nyo lang, lalagyan nyo lang i-connect nyo lang yung neck, lalagyan nyo lang ng wing, dadagdagan nyo ng tail, lalagyan nyo ng mata, lalagyan nyo ng tuka at paa, and then meron na kayo, makakapag-drawing na kayo ng ibon. Okay, so ang gagawin ko is ide-demo ko yung paano mag-drawing ng ibon. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, ang ginawa ko guys is sugo lang yung camera, nagalaw. Nagalaw lang yung camera. Okay. So, ang mangyayari is so, ito na yung ginawa ko. Gumawa na ako nag-cut out ako ng something. Okay, so nag-cut out na ako at ito na yung ulo. So imagine niyo na ito yung ibon. So ayan na siya. Okay. So ganyan na yung makikita natin na itsura niya. So paano natin gagawin? So ang style na ang pipiliin nating ibon na i-drawing ay si Black Nape Oriole. So si Black Nape Oriole, i-drawing lang natin. Yan yung itsura ni Black Nape Oriole. So mag-i-start tayo mag-drawing. So imagine, so ang gagawin lang niyo lang guys, kung gusto niyo, mag-cut out kayo ng cardboard na ganyan. And then ito na yung magiging guide ninyo. So i-connect niyo lang na gano'n. So meron na kayong ibon na drawing. So dito pa lang na-imagine niyo na, no, na meron na kayong ibon na nakikita. Okay? So, ganun lang kasimple. So, ang gagawin natin, ito-drawing natin si black-nape oriole. So, using yung tinatawag na cap system. So, ang gamit ko lang is regular pencil. Okay. So, ito yung si black-nape oriole. So mapapansin niyo rin habang nagdo-drawing ako, hindi ako masyado stricto o particular sa anatomy, no, o sa size niya or kung ano man yung nire-require ng iba. Sa akin is gusto ko lang muna makita yung construction ng body at ng head connection. And then ilalapat ko na yung tail. So ngayon nakita niyo na meron na tayong form. So lalagyan ko na siya ng mata. Okay, tapos lalagyan ko lang siya ng itim dito. Tapos lalagyan ko lang ng matang ganun. Okay, may itim yung pakpak. So lalagyan ko ng itim ng pakpak sa part ng pakpak. So ano siya, naka-perch o naka-perch. Lalagyan ko lang ng dahon na ganun. Tapos lalagyan ko lang ng paa. Okay, so again, hindi ko na inisip kung ano yung maganda ba yung paa, pangit ba yung paa, tabingi ba yung paa. So next, ang gagawin na natin is, yan yung ibon na nakita ko. So anong color? Yung body, yellow. Yan, yellow lang. May, ito, black. Yung tuka, yung taas at baba ng tuka, wala, hindi ko alam kung anong color, pero mukhang red. Yan. Tapos may black yung wing. May black sa wing. Okay? So yan na si black-nape oriole. See, ganun lang kasimple mag-drawing, ano? So nag-start tayo again, kung i-drawing natin, kung lalagyan ko ng diin, yung drawing is, ito lang yung sinimulan nyo. No? Diyan lang tayo nagsimula. Pati ito. Okay? Yan lang yung dalawang yon. Same as this. Parang ganito. No? So, ayan lang siya. Tapos ito yung isa. Okay, so pansin nyo na gano'n lang kasimple mag-drawing ng ibon. So, halimbawa, sir, ibang ibon naman. O, sige, ibang ibon. Tatry natin ibang ibon. Pili tayo ng ibang ibon. Hanap tayo may nakita kasi ako, sir, yung mahaba ang, yun, parang ang haba ng leeg eh. Ganon. So, dinescribe mo na kagad. Okay, good. Mahaba ang leeg. So, ito siya, si gray heron. Ayan. Okay. So, si gray heron, ida-drawing din natin siya using again, we can still use yung cap system. So, dito pa lang, makikita mo na yung body niya, ito na kagad. So, ito, sabihin natin, puposition natin yung body na ganyan. So, ito yung body niya. Tapos, ito yung ulo niya. Lalagay natin yung ulo niya doon. So, ito na yung ulo niya. So, ngayon, imagine natin ngayon, ito-drawing na natin yung kanyang katawan. So, this time, gagamitin natin ito pang guide. Yan. So, ano lang siya? Guide lang siya. Okay, tanggalin na natin. Tapos, si ulo. So, dahil ang cap natin dito, yung ulo niya masyadong malaki, no? So, ang gagawin lang natin, gagamitin lang natin siyang guide ulit. So, guide lang siya, but this time, liliitan natin. Liliitan natin ng konti yung ulo. Pero, ganun pa rin yung idea, no? Nandoon pa rin yung idea na yung cap system pa rin nandoon. So, lilipisan natin yung body. Yan. Tapos, lalagay na natin yung leeg. Okay. Yan. Yan na siya. Lagyan na natin ng tuka. Lagyan na natin ng mata. Tapos saka natin lalagyan ng mga ibang details. Yan. Yung bakpak dito, yung bakpak may itim yan. Yan, ganyan yung itim eh. Tapos yung feather niya magulo eh. Ayan. Tapos yung legs, lagyan lang natin ng mahabang legs. Mahaba yung legs niya eh, ganyan no. Ayan yung legs niya. Okay. So yung tail niya rin medyo mahaba. Kaya lang kasi natatakpan ng dahon, so hindi ko na maalala kung sobrang haba ba ng tail niya o maikli, ano? So yan. So yung ilalim niya itim. So lalagyan mo lang ng itim, konting itim lang. Tapos yung neck niya, napansin ko, meron din siyang tuldok-tuldok dito sa leeg. Simpleng tuldok-tuldok lang. Tapos medyo makapal yung tuka. Ayan. Tapos ano yung leeg. So kung feeling nyo madumi, guys, walang problema. Pwede nyo ulitin, drawing ulit, o bura. Hindi ganyan yung ano eh, hindi ganyan yung tuka eh. Basta hindi naman ganyan kakapal, no? Tamang-tama lang yung tuka. Parang yan, ganun. Parang dulo ng sibat. Yan. Tapos i-ano nyo na, lalagyan nyo na ng konting detail. Tapos i-drawing nyo na yung mata. Yan. So ayan na siya. So nagiging ano na ako, nagiging OC na ako sa itsura niya. So from there, ayan na. So describe na. Ano bang ano yung color na nakita mo? Parang wala siyang kulay eh, pero medyo gray siya eh, o gray. Kasi nga naman gray heron siya eh, no? So gray. So majority ng kanyang katawan ay gray. Tapos may itim, may black siya sa kanyang nape. Hindi ba siya gray nape heron? Ayan, o black nape heron. Ayan. So hindi siya Orioles, isa siyang heron. So ayan, describe niyo na siya. So ngayon makita niyo na sobrang simple lang. Hindi na siya ganoon ka-complicated. Nakuha niyo na kagad kung ano yung itsura ng ibon. Again, using yung tinatawag na yung cap system. Okay, so may nakita kayong ibang ibon. Yan, ganyan lang itsura niya. Tapos, bigyan niyo ng description. Pula ang legs, yellow ang legs, no? So, ganun lang kasimple guys. Hindi siya mahirap. Hindi niyo dapat pahirapan ang sarili niyo pag nagdo-drawing kayo ng ibon, especially kapag nasa outdoor kayo. Kasi unang-una, marami kayong may experience sa outdoor, no? Very situational yung pagdodrawing niyo ng ibon, especially outdoor kasi nga mainit, malamok, madaming tao, maingay, mahirap yung position ninyo, hindi kayo makaupo, hindi kayo makatayo na maayos, delikado at kulang kayo sa time kasi nagmamadali kayo. Meron pa kayo ibang pupuntahan para mas marami kayong makita. So, ganun guys, ganun lang kasimple ang paggamit ng cap system. Ngayon, para hindi kayo malito, try nyo mag-cut out ng ganito. Yan, mag-cut out kayo ng something like this na pwede nyo gamitin, no? Para hindi kayo nalilito. Okay? Tapos start nyo ng paglaruan yan. Pwede nyo paganyan. Yan. Diba? Pwede rin pag ganon. Parang pag ganyan. Diba? So, simple lang, ano? Hindi na siya mahirap. Okay. So, that's it. And thank you very much. And keep on drawing, guys.
Syempre, I owe Arnel an apology. I forgot to show this slide earlier. Arnel Telesforo, by the way, is my brother-in-law. He's an animator, graphics artist, arts instructor, bird watcher, cat human, and gardener, no? So, he's all of those and more, no? Ano din siya namin, poet din yan siya, gumagawa din siya ng poetry. Nakalimutan natin yung poetry mo on frogs. Pero
Yeah.
that's all right. So anyway, we have already gathered the list of questions for the rest of the webinar. Let me read some of them. Si Tintin na lang siguro. Would you like to read them?
Okay, I can do that. Some of these questions were posted. They're posted either on Zoom or YouTube, but I'll read them out, even those that were answered, so both groups can hear the answer. This one is from John Mark Aros. This was for Jelaine earlier. It's maybe a follow-up question, Jel. How do you observe an eagle in flight? I know you've answered it on chat, but our YouTube group, I don't think they can see that.
And hello po. So when you observe eagles in flight, usually I just draw the silhouette. Kasi di ba kapag nasa taas sila, medyo dark lang yung nakikita natin, yung parang shadow. So what's important about eagles is that you note down the shape of the wings, the way they hold it, whether V-shape or etc. And then I just put arrows when I want to indicate movement. Kung umiikot sila na parang whirlwind, or they're flying in one general direction, and so on.
Okay, thank you. From YouTube, Jellyzel, Digalia from Jellyzel. How come flower and insects have a connection?
Ayan. So, I think that's also my question, right? So I'll answer it. Yung mga insects kasi natin, a lot of them are herbivores. So, meaning they feed on plants, either yung plant sap o kaya yung mismong leaves, yung kinakain nila. So, it's nice to note down the interaction that they have. Kung ano yung host plant, kunyari, ng caterpillar, or kung saan naglilay ng egg, kunyari, yung butterfly, etc. So, those are really interesting interactions that we can take down when we're observing mga insects.
Okay, thank you. This is probably from for Lala from Jose Adrian Miguel. Will there be more workshops like this? I think he enjoyed the workshop. The webinar very much. So, are there plans to hold similar webinars in the future?
Actually, Jel and I talked about it. I think a sequel is warranted. Kasi we had like a list of topics na we wanted to share to our personal groups. Noong una iniisip namin, sa mga grupo lang namin, maliit lang, no, na to teach them how to take advantage of their time in nature, to jot down notes and to document what they see, everything that they observe and all that. Pero it turned out to be a bigger topic, no? May intersection of nature journaling and art, nature journaling and poetry and all that. So baka may future pa na webinars. We'll see. We'll see.
Well, maybe related to that is a question from Eric on Zoom. Is there an intensive naturalist training program in the Philippines?
Wala. Because abroad, some universities would offer it as a whole subject. So they would actually take the course for several months. No? So mahaba ito. Si Jel knows this kasi while preparing yung presentation, na-realize namin na madami pang pwedeng ilagay dito. Especially yung aspect na if you're a scientist, like a citizen scientist, how will you be able to contribute to science? medyo pahapyaw na nga yung treatment na we decided on kasi it wouldn't fit in just 2 hours. No, maximum na natin yung 2 hours. So, pwede pang in-depth noon, no? Marami pang pwedeng pag-usapan. So, we will see tingnan namin kung kakayanin pa. Oo.
Thank you. Also from YouTube, maybe for Jel, applicable ba ang nature journaling sa pag-observe sa langit o ng mga bituin or talagang sa lupa lang talaga applicable ito?
Ikaw daw, Jel.
Oh my God, can you repeat? Sorry, choppy po yung kanina.
Okay. Khalid is asking, applicable ba talaga sa pag-observe ang applicable ba ito sa pag-observe sa langit o ng mga bituin o talagang sa lupa lang talaga applicable ito?
Oh, that's a very interesting question or comment. Actually, when we talk about nature journaling, it doesn't have to be yung mga animals or plants, di ba? It can also be yung mga stars, yung mga phenomena like rainbows. So, pwede to sa mga ganong bagay, mga volcanoes, mga landscapes. So, anything that is in nature, you can always put them into a story, put a picture for them or about them in your journals. So, pwede. Nice na.
Okay, so that answers your question, Khalid. For TJ, curious lang. This is for Arnel. What size ng drawing paper do you usually carry with you when you do nature urban sketching? Gaano
Urban?
kalaki ang papel? What
Urban
size
sketching.
ng drawing paper? Yes?
Pwede ko pakita.
Of course.
Sige. So, nakikita ba? Sandali tanggalin ko lang yung settings. Sorry. Okay. So, sa urban, saan ba yun? I think this one. Ganito kalaki. So, may ruler, tama-tama may ruler ako rito. So, 8 by 6, no? So, speaking of rural yan, may drawing na akong bahay. So, this one is ongoing pa rin. So recently lang ako nag-start mag-drawing ng bahay kasi because I hate straight lines. hindi ako sa straight lines kasi sanay ako sa forest, so walang straight line no. So yan yung ginagamit kong notebook. Minsan kapag ito yung mga actual drawings na mga kung gusto kong malaking drawings, yan, ganitong size yung notebook na ginagamit ko. Malaki. Kung gusto kong mas detailed.
Okay. So that's 8 by 6, did you say?
Yes, 8 by 6. By the way, ito rin pala yung drawing namin doon sa isang old house, doon sa Pasay. So yan yung mga ibang nakita lang namin. Okay. So may tanong pala, may nakita akong tanong, sagutin ko na rin.
Sige, please.
Ano daw yung notebook? Maraming klase ng notebook. Like this one is just an ordinary notebook. So dito ako nagdo-drawing ng mga iba kong drawings. So makikita nyo may mga drawings na rin dyan. Also this one, maliit lang din siya. So very handy, kagaya sabi ni Ma'am Jelaine na very handy. Okay? So hindi siya ganoon kalaki. Okay, so may mga kung ano-ano rin mga naka-drawing na rin diyan. So hindi lang tignan nyo, pati kung ano dinodrawing ko, no? May mga cup, ganyan. Bawang, okay, teapot, okay. So walang pinipili, no? Lahat dinodrawing. May nagtanong, parang may nakita ako nagtanong tungkol dun sa notebook. Unang-una to kay Ma'am Lala atay, waterproof. Guys, kung meron kayong makikitang notebook, itong brand na to, papel de piedra, stone paper, ito yung ginagamit ng mga diver. Kasi pwede kang magsulat sa ilalim ng tubig. Mas pag ito yung ginamit mo. Ang gamit nila, of course, ang gamit ng mga diver ay lapis. So pwede ka magsulat, no? Pwede ka magsulat diyan. Then kung ayaw mo na, pwede mo pa rin burahin. So yan, burado na siya. So this is waterproof. Ewan ko kung meron pa nito sa Power Books. I think I bought this around 250. Medyo mahal. So manipis lang siya. May mas makapal. I think ganito kakapal. Mga nasa 500. Pero sobrang magandang investment ito. Actually, hindi ko pa siya dinodrawing kasi parang nanghihinayan ako. Sobrang ganda kasi ng papel, no? So, make sure kung dodrawingan ko siya, sobrang special yung idodrawing ko dito. Pag dodrawingan ko. Other than that, I think yun lang, no? Ito lang yung notebook na ginagamit ko. Hanggang ganyang sizes lang. And this one also. So, kung ano nakadikit sa mga notebook, ano? Kung ano-ano rin yung mga nakadrawing. Marami na rin yung drawing na ginawa and nilabas. By the way, hindi ko pala nasama ito. Ito yung on the spot din ito. Nakakatawa yung kwento nito kasi naubusan ako ng tinta. So, ng ballpen. So, tinuloy ko sa camp. So, yan yung drawing na saan kami nakaupo. So, yan yung sa may mahogany. Alam ni Ma'am Jeline ito. Nako, sa may mahogany, sa may Subic. No? So, yan yung mga notebook ko lang na ginagamit po. Okay?
Thank you. We have actually a lot of more from Maria and Angelica Decina. I think you've answered this already. Is it okay to take a picture first, then draw them after? Or does it really have to be drawn on the spot?
Yun yung tanong.
It's si Maria Angelica from YouTube.
I mean, para kanino pala? Sorry.
Sa'yo?
Sa akin. Sa akin ba? Walang problema, oo. Yun yung purpose ng camera. Kasi yun nga yung sinabi ko, situational, very situational yung ano nyo, yung lugar mo. Halimbawa, kung ako kasi, kung nagsisurvey kami, wala kaming time to sit down and draw. Kasi nagsusukat kami, nag-akit ng puno, habang naglalakad kayo, nagbibilang kayo. So, pag mawala yung bilang mo, baka hindi mo na alam kung ano yung bilang mo, no? Malito ka. So, ang gagawin mo lang, kukunan mo lang ng picture, mabilisan lang. Tapos, later on mo na tignan ulit.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Yun ng technology ng camera.
All right, it's a good to have, but not a
Yes.
must have. Yeah.
Yes.
Also from TJ, how many colors do you usually bring with you during your nature sketch walks?
Ako, wala. Wala akong dinadalang color. Unless na intentional talaga na gusto kong umupo ng matagal at magpinta or mag-watercolor. Okay, go ahead. Magdadala ako ng watercolor. Pero most of the time, wala akong dalang pang-color kasi dagdag bigat yung sa bag ko eh.
Okay, thank you. For Khalid, this is probably for Lala. May e-certificate po ba ito?
Thank you for asking. In the evaluation form, I need you to write your full name if you want a certificate. And we will try to arrange it with the Institute of Biology to send a certificate to you. So, yun lang siguro. Full name,
Okay.
kailangan kompleto. How you want your name to appear in the certificate. It's in the evaluation link that we will post.
From Miss Jelizel de Galia, sa drawing ni Arnel kanina, yung sa left side ba, yun ba yung kinakain na kung tawagin ay bakbak na frog?
Yung ano,
Sa left? I think that was the tree frog.
the tree frog. Kinakain ba yun Hindi ko alam.
Yung tree frog, ang pagkaalam ko niyan, hindi siya kinakain. Ang alam ko yung kinakain, yung mga sa loob.
Lakang bukid.
Oo, yung sa mga ilog na malalaki, sa bukid, gano'n.
Ano.
Pero yung tree frog, hindi pa ako nakarinig na kinakain siya. Pero Huwag na lang natin kainin? Okay lang ba? Oo, pwedeng ano na lang, observe na lang natin at i-draw.
Okay, so another from Facebook, from Fitz. Aside from asking biologists/experts, since hindi tayo laging may contact sa kanila, what printed material can you suggest to help us identify, can help us identify organisms correctly? I don't trust apps po eh. Maybe Jelaine or Lala could take that on.
Sige po. Ako na lang po muna and then Ma'am Lala can add. So, if you guys don't have access to like mga field guide or mga picture guide for birds or for other organisms, well, for one, ang sasabihin ko sana is yung gamitin yung mga app like iNaturalist. So, you can take a photo and then it will make suggestions. Pero like what she also mentioned or he also mentioned, medyo hindi rin accurate ito. What we can do is that we can take advantage of social media. Marami na actually mga Facebook groups ngayon which we're in. Nandun yung mga experts and you can simply post your image as well as the metadata, yung location and yung date, and then other people can help you identify it. So like for example, meron tayong Philippine Biodiversity Network or library. And then yung UP Wildret or Katipunan Wild, you can also post there and other people can help you identify it.
Okay, thanks, Jel. Okay, we're moving on to the Zoom group. A lot more questions came in. Arnel, all in all, how many species of birds ang na-drawing nyo na po? We don't hear you.
Mute. Marami na rin ako na drawing na ibon. So, meron na rin kasi ako na-publish na book. I remember, di ba, yung Birding in the Philippines. So, 2 volume yun. May mga pages doon na may mga drawings ng ibon. So, yun na yung mga na-drawing kong ibon. Actually, yung mga ibang drawings ng ibon ko ay mga sketches, mga simple sketches lang. So, siguro marami na rin, in a way.
Would you say more than 50? Less than 50?
I think more than
Ballpark?
50 na. Oo, more than 50.
50. Like between 50 and 100. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Lala or Jelaine can answer this. How do birds get their plumage colors?
Si Arnel actually ang marunong niya kasi he gave a talk about yung plumage colors before. Sige nga, Nel.
Okay. Alalahanin ko. Okay, yung may 2 klase eh. Yung isa genetic, yung isa naman structure. So halimbawa yung hornbill, yung isang hornbill sa Malaysia, may ginagamit siyang oil sa kanyang katawan, and then yung pinupunas niya para nagiging bright yung color niya. Like yung tuka niya nagiging dilaw, yung feather niya nagiging black and everything, oil, parang oil yon. And then another one is yung structure, which is like yung Nicobar pigeon. The best example kasi siya, actually wala siyang color, no? Parang hindi mo ma-identify kung anong color siya. Minsan green, minsan blue, minsan yellow, minsan red. So nagmi-mix 'yon kasi yung structure ng feather niya nagki-create ng iridescent 'yon. So kung saan ang position ng araw, at the same time kung saan ka naka-position, pag nakikita mo siya, nagki-create siya ng iba-ibang color. So again, 2, isang genetic at isang structural. So nasa feather nila 'yan. Another one is yung flamingo, right? So pag kumakain sila ng algae, nagiging pink yung kanilang yung color ng kanilang feather. So part 'yun ng kanilang genetics. So ganun kaganda ang ibon.
Thank you. Well, this isn't really a question, maybe a suggestion. So very interested to attend, from Eric, very interested to attend if you will be having one in the future. I think this is about the intensive training, perhaps an extension program or a certificate course. So from Rep Perez 1, He's asking how can we combine / crowdsource citizen journal entries to contribute to the bigger scientific community, especially here in the country, and hopefully to reach out to government agencies / LGUs to guide on decision making.
Dali, sana yun.
Ma'am Lala, would you like to answer it?
Lahat yung, sorry, may binabasa ako na ano yung team?
Sige lang, ma'am.
In
The
short,
question is,
Ay, sige.
so the question,
I see it. Citizen journal entries to contribute to the bigger scientific
yeah.
Definitely possible. No, I know of quite a lot of taxonomists who actually are just weekend hobbyists. They do not have any degrees na to show people, pero they're so good at what they do na they've published so many taxonomic papers. I have one example of a doctor. He is a doctor. Tapos, ang kanyang doctor to the barrios, siya during the day, during the morning pala, he would see patients. But in the afternoon, he would go up the mountain, which is behind the hospital, and look at maliliit na mga dragonflies, damselflies, and all that. Now, he is the expert, the foremost expert on dragonflies and damselflies in the Philippines. So it can be something that you're so passionate about na you can actually contribute to science. No? Yung nabanggit nga ni Jel, si Jane Goodall, kasi super idol ko yun, nakakatuwa. It was because of a book. Nang maliit siya, she was reading this book about a monkey. Ano nga bang title nun? Nakalimutan ko na yung title ng libro na binabasa niya. It was about monkeys nung maliit siya. So, she dreamed that she would be working with monkeys eventually. So yun, mga chimps ang pinag-aralan niya kahit na wala siyang degree. People were scoffing at her, but her observations were so acute, so detailed, they could not argue with the science of it, no? With the accuracy ng kanyang mga observations. So eventually, she got a degree then, but it took her a while to do that, no? Pero yung primary observations niya, which took a few years, talagang groundbreaking, no? It helped change people's ideas about what a human is, no? So ang galing ng study ni Jane Goodall. Pero siguro yun, it starts with careful note-taking. Kaya importante yung kwento ni na Jill at ni Arnel kasi it will help you make your documentation very rich and very full of useful information, scientific information. So, o sige, baka may madagdag pa kayo dyan, Jill.
Dagdag ko lang rin po kasi parang yung isang tanong rin po dito ay kung meron parang platform kung saan pwedeng like i-gather or contribute siya to the greater scientific community. Currently po kasi there's not many people who are into like nature journaling or citizen science in the Philippines. It's actually not that famous yet. So hopefully in the future po magkaroon tayo ng isang community kung saan people of all ages, of all background can just simply share about their observations. Maybe some kind of like nature journaling club, maybe. Diba? It's actually interesting kung magkaroon tayo ng ganun. Pero currently, ang nangyayari ay yung mga researchers, sila yung nag-reach out to ask anyone for data. So like for example, ako magpo-post ako Facebook, tapos tatanungin ko, have you guys seen this raptor before in your area? So parang that was one way that citizen science are happening right now in the Philippines. Pero I guess there is still a need for a more a better platform for collaboration. I hope in the future we can do something like that. But Facebook is a start. The groups that are present right now, yung mga Facebook groups na for biodiversity, those are a good start already.
Yeah. By the way, I'd like to acknowledge yung the director of the Institute of Biology is with us now, no? Si Dr. Ian Kendrick Fontanilla. So, nakwento niya na we can probably offer a subject, no? A similar subject. Gawin nating Bio 397. Oo, 397, no? Specialty elective. We can probably gather material, no, that can constitute like a full-blown course, no, that we can offer at the Institute of Biology, no. So mga walang prerequisites ito, no. Although syempre the one who will be teaching it should have a PhD kasi that's a requirement in the institute. So yun. Meron pati yan?
This is from Zoom, nasagot na ni Arnel, pero tanungin ko na lang para sa YouTube group. Saan po nabibili ang waterproof notebook?
Okay. Nasagutin ko na lang ulit. Sa PowerBook siya available back in 2011. So, hindi ko alam kung available pa siya hanggang ngayon. Kasi during that time nung nakita namin ito, parang walang halos pumapansin yung notebook. Ang nakita ko pa ang display pa nila yung notebook nasa loob ng aquarium. So makikita talaga, oh, wow, kakaiba yung notebook. So binili ko kagad. So tinest ko naman siya at totoong waterproof nga yung notebook. Pero sa PowerBooks, pero I think pwede kayo mag-inquire or I think meron na yan sa available na rin yan tingin ko somewhere. Baka i-order nyo lang.
And meron din po akong gusto i-share. So, meron akong notebook na ginagamit for field, Write in the Rain.
Yeah.
So, it's a waterproof na notebook. And you can order it sa mga online shops. So, malapit na yung 11/11, guys. So,
yes.
Karoon kayo ay pwede kayong bumili.
Thank you, Jael.
All right. We have another new question from Jet Marinas. He's I am a scuba diver. I noticed that most of the questions focus on the terrestrial environment. Any tips po that can be applied in coastal and marine or underwater environment?
Well, I think I'm not sure how you actually go diving, but most of the people I know who go diving, they usually have cameras with them. So that might be a surrogate, no? Kasi it might be a bit hard for you to be writing underwater, no? So baka pwede yung camera. How do you do it, Tin? Di ba may mga cameras yung for diving?
I'm also aware of waterproof notebooks that they use and pencil.
Oo.
But
yes. Go ahead.
Jeline can add more to that, I think.
Oo. Well, kami kasi dati, when we used to do sampling in marine environments, we used to have a slate. Yun ang standard. May slate ka and then a pencil. So you write on it. Pero usually, scientific info yun, mga measurements, mga scores ng coral cover, something like that. So, you can actually use that as well. Yung nga, mabigat kasi madaming slates yung kailangan mong gamitin. So, I think a viable option would be a video camera that would be able to capture quite a lot of things underwater while you're there. And then when you go up, and then saka ka na magsulat sa notebook. So, baka pwedeng ganun. Jel, may dagdag ka?
Wala naman po akong i-add yun. Slate rin yung naisip ko, ma'am.
Oo, slate.
Nagbaback po yung form. Okay. I'm sorry, I forgot to say that we have an evaluation form. I pasted the link on the chat. I think it's also pasted on the YouTube chat as well. I'm not sure if the link is working for everyone. I'm able to access it, but
talaga.
I don't think it's
I'll
working for
post it
everyone.
for a moment. There. How about that now? Sige, check nyo
Yeah.
lang if that will work.
So Lala, I don't think there is any new question from either Zoom or YouTube.
Okay. So are we... Sige. Okay na? Sige.
Yes, okay na.
So, So, we would like to thank our speakers for taking the time to share their experience, their passion. Tapos yung matagal siya. Although alam na nila ito lahat, matagal siyang gawin into a presentation form. So thank you so much for that. And I just would like to tell everyone, let us pursue opportunities for contact with the natural environment. Such contact has positive restorative effects on mental health and well-being, and may also help to provide a buffer against stressful life events. So this is actually very relevant to what we are experiencing now, no? So I hope you get to really go out and enjoy nature, no? So I just would like to thank the following groups. Ayan. Because of the help na they extended to us by promoting the event, and also for all the rest of the help na we got from the certificates siguro, no? So the Institute of Biology, UP Diliman, Wild Bird Club of the Philippines, Biodiversity Conservation Society of the Philippines, Antipolo Valley Ecological Society, the Ateneo Wild, the UP Wild, and Biotope Philippines, no? So thank you so much, everyone, for attending, and we hope to be able to come up with another webinar soon, no? So, okay, you take care, everyone, and God bless you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Salamat.
Congrats.
Congrats sa inyo. Sige, let's wait.
Thank you po. Salamat po.
Kindly answer the evaluation form, and also I'd like you guys to write your full name there if you need a certificate.
Thank you very much po.
Yes po, ma'am. Finish na po evaluation.
Bye.
La, can you post the short link to the evaluation form on YouTube? I can't seem to post the link.
Ayan, nasa...
I mean sa YouTube.
Ay, wait. Sa YouTube pala. Ay, mali. Siglit lang.
Wala na si Jeline. Umalis na si Jeline.
Oo, kasi...
I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Tago lang.
Ay,
Baka gusto nilang, yung mga ibang participant, baka gusto nilang malaman yung inyong ating Facebook page para makita naman nila yung tsura natin sa Facebook.
Sige po, sir.
Ito yung sa akin. Ito, popost ko. Taran! Ayan yung aking Facebook page. Makita niyo yung mga ibang drawings ko dyan.
Tago lang.
Okay. Baka gusto nilang, yung mga ibang participant, baka gusto nilang malaman yung inyong ating Facebook page. Ako ba yun?
ay, sorry. Kasi
Parang
Kung akin, yung UP Wild na. Follow the UP Wild and Ateneo Wild.
They can always look it up online. No?
Yes. Maraming salamat.
Thank you so much, guys. Oo. Feeling ko may mga may exchange of info pa. Oo.
Well, I think, tingin ko, alam nyo, maraming artist talaga dyan, tingin ko na nagdo-drawing din ng mga nature. Hindi lang natin alam, o hindi lang siguro sila makapakita ng presence nila sa net. Pero I think marami yan sila. Hindi lang natin alam.
Oo.
Pero kasi meron alam ko meron yung grupo ng urban sketchers eh. Dinodrawing nila yung mga buildings, kung ano-anong lumang bahay. Yung mga meron akong nakitang grupong ganun eh. Tapos during that time sasali sana ako, hindi ako wala akong time. Tapos kung may mga ano na ako na sinisita sila kasi bakit ano daw yung ginagawa nila.
Oo. Oo.
Sinisita sila ng mga security, ng mga police, ano daw yung ginagawa nila. So sinasabi nila, wala, nagdo-drawing lang.